Next up we have from Brooklyn, New York, Mike Reyes. Mike, welcome. Thank you. And from West Fargo, New Jersey, Nicolas. Guys, thank you so much for coming up.
Thank you for having us.
I don't know if you guys are readers, but can you tell me something about your favorite sports books?
Probably the Junction Boys from back in the day. I was young when I read it, and I was just getting into football. And you know, when you read about the struggles that the older players used to go through, that younger players now would complain about, you know, they don't even want two-a-days now. And you know, you had guys getting hurt left and right, not being able to drink water, and reading that at a young age kind of made me appreciate the game for what it was back then.
Ironically enough, for me, my favorite book comes from a sport that I'm not even an average fan of. Agassi's book, Open, was the most intriguing book from start to finish. I love all the stories that he told about how his attitude was growing up, what he thought of Pete Sampras when they played in junior. The story when he was a kid, playing against Jim Brown, where his father said, "I'll bet you $10,000 that you can't beat my son," and he was only 8 years old, and he ran home, and he got money, and then they kind of squared off a little bit for practice, and then by the time Agassi's father came back, Jim Brown said, "You know what, I'll play him for $500 instead." It was just such an interesting book from start to finish. The admissions, stuff that not a lot of people didn't really know how he went about everything, and that was actually my favorite book from a sport that I'm not even the biggest fan of.
You guys are both obviously very avid sports fans. Who influenced you early on in your lives to follow sports so avidly?
You know what? Growing up, I mean, players and intensity and whatnot. Paul O'Neill was
More of a family, not who
from a person. Okay.
Person.
You know what? My dad wasn't the biggest sports guy. My older cousin was a huge sports fan, and he's, you can see I'm wearing a Thurman Thomas jersey right now. He's the reason why I became a Buffalo Bills fan. Say about 5 years old or so, I was just watching a game with him and whatnot. It was actually a Bills-Jets game, and Thurman Thomas runs in a touchdown. He starts going nuts, and I kind of tagged along with that. I became a big Bills fan, and then Knicks basketball became my second favorite sport at the time, and then Yankees and whatnot, and then you just pick along players along the way and things that you admire growing up.
No, Nick, how about you?
For me, it's definitely my father. When I was, as long as I can remember, playing catch with him in the backyard, and him taking me to games, Jet games at an early age, going right from my Pee Wee games and my pads still to the Meadowlands watching Jet games, and just my father definitely.
All right, Nick, what do you like to do besides sports?
Big movie guy. I love watching movies. I love playing guitar, going down the shore with my friends. Mostly sports stuff. I really check Twitter on a minute-to-minute basis. Read every article ESPN has to offer. But mostly this normal stuff a 23-year-old does.
And I'd say for you.
I'll be honest, I really don't do much outside of sports. Everything I watch is sports. Ironically enough, I'm 26 years old. I don't even listen to music. Everything I listen to, if I'm listening to radio, it's sports radio. Whether I'm listening to podcasts or whatever the case may be, I'm watching you guys on Yes or the whole deal. It's just sports for me 24/7. It's really not an exaggeration.
All right, guys, very good. We'll start with the monologues. Mike, you're up first. Clock is right there. You've got 2 minutes. Go for it.
All right, we're 2 days removed from the trade deadline. I want to talk about a move that the Mets didn't make come July 31st. I want to talk about them not trading Jose Reyes, because to me, I kind of didn't understand it. I mean, do you really want to invest over $120 million on a guy whose game is predicated on speed, on a guy that's been injured the last 3 years, on a guy who, as a leadoff hitter, has never batted over 300 his entire career until this year, and by the way, it's his contract season. To me, the Mets just have too many holes to fill, and going that route and giving so much money into one guy when you got to shore up a bullpen, where the biggest need to me is the top end of that rotation, and the ballpark that you're in Citi Field, one of the best pitching parks in all of baseball. You need to be realistic in terms of what's ahead of you with Philadelphia and Atlanta, because talent-wise from top to bottom, they're leaps and bounds better than New York Metropolitan. And I give them like a 2 to 3 year window, because Philly, to me, their core guys are a lot older than people might realize. So I think they got about another 2-3 years to win the World Series. And the Mets aren't that far off. They have pitching depth in the rotation. They just don't have ace-type guys, because obviously right now Johan Santana is hurt. The lineup, I think, is good enough. So in the next couple of years, there are guys like David Price, Jared Weaver, Zach Greinke, and Felix Hernandez are all potential free agents. I think the money that you save from not giving Jose Reyes, go out and get one of those guys. Let's just say, for argument's sake, you got Jared Weaver at the top of that rotation. Johan Santana, you hope is healthy come next year. John Neese and Mike Pelfrey, Zach Wheeler might be ready in a couple of years. Matt Harvey's another top pitching prospect. Dylan G, I didn't even mention yet, he's having a breakout season. If you got a rotation like that and a ballpark like that, the Phillies are going to come back down to earth in a few years, if you ask me. I think the lineup is good enough with guys like Wright and Ike Davis come next season, and Daniel Murphy can flat out hit. In playoff baseball, great pitching and timely hitting is what wins. You don't need a great lineup. If you don't believe me, just look at the San Francisco Giants from last season.
All right, you mentioned Daniel Murphy. Where do you see him? What position do you see him playing?
He's such a tricky guy because he's got such a good bat, but we've seen he's been borderline a butcher in the field. He's probably better, right now he's obviously playing first because of Ike Davis, majority of the time. He's probably better suited as a second base guy and a second and third sort of utility guy. But that's a good problem to me for the Mets to have because you also have Justin Turner in the mix there, and then you see what you do at shortstop. But he could even be a piece to trade in a year or two to an American League team.
All right, give me a couple seconds on both the Jets and the Giants and how you think they'll do this season based on this offseason.
The Jets, to me, pretty much, they stayed about the same. They brought back the guys that they needed to bring back. It's probably a little bit of a downgrade right now with Plaxico Burress as opposed to Braylon Edwards, but they needed red zone help. They're probably going to be an 11-win team. They'll be in the hunt again. To go to a third straight conference title game, I think is asking a bit much, but a lot of it depends on the quarterback, Mark Sanchez. But as for the Giants, they're not, they're kind of the same deal as they were last year as well. The problem is the Eagles have made so many moves in that division. They're kind of putting themselves as a clear-cut favorite. If they can win 10 games, I think the Giants are better than the Cowboys right now, despite what whoever might think with Tony Romo coming back healthy. If they can win 10 games, I think the Giants will be good enough to get into the playoffs as one of the 16.
All right, let's stick with football. Give us as we sit here at the beginning of August, Super Bowl prediction.
I'm going to go Packers in the NFC, despite everyone wants to jump on the Eagles bandwagon. The Packers lost so many players due to an IR last year and still won the Super Bowl. So they're getting back some Pro Bowls themselves. In the AFC, it's kind of hard not to go with the Patriots, even though, for those who don't remember, you want to tout Tom Brady. He hasn't won a playoff game since 2007. But as of now, just looking at the rest of the conference, I'm not so sure the Colts are going to be back there in that level again. The Ravens are always tricky for playoff time. I've never been crazy about the Steelers offense. So right now, I'll go Patriots-Packers.
Going to be an NBA season this year?
No, I don't think so, which is a shame because I'm a huge basketball fan. I think best case scenario, and you heard it earlier, you're looking at maybe a 2-month season. And, it's a shame to me from a Knicks fan standpoint. We've been so pathetic for the last decade. You finally get Amari and Carmelo Anthony, you might not even have an NBA season. But I'll be honest, no, I really don't think we're going to have a season this year.
All right, Mike, thank you very much. Nick, you've got your 2 minutes.
For the past 4.5 months, NFL fans would have you believe that the lockout did irreparable damage to the love of the game. That even if the deal got done, they'd still be scarred. But let me tell you something right now. The lockout that alienated so many people is going to end up being one of the best things that's ever happened to America's greatest game. Right now, people are going crazy with the start of the NFL season. In fact, SI.com just reported that ticket sales on the NFL Ticket Exchange went up 332% last Monday from the day before and 294% from the previous Monday after the lockout was over. When you think about it, did the lockout really affect the fans? No. They got a deal done 45 days before the first game. The only people this really affected were the NFL league and team employees who were either furloughed or laid off. And that's it. The new CBA benefits everybody. It's a 10-year deal. We have a decade of labor peace. There's a rookie wage scale. So when your team misses on a draft pick, you're not handcuffed to them for millions of dollars. They're fining veterans $30,000 a day to miss training camp. Your star is going to be at camp. Okay? And there's a hard salary cap, so the big market teams can't buy all the best players, and a cap floor, so the small market teams have to spend money. There is going to be more parity and better competition. So fans, do you really expect me to believe that when the Saints go to Lambeau Field to kick off the 2011 season on September 8th against the defending champion Packers, that you're not going to watch? That you're going to cancel your fantasy drafts, not plan your Super Bowl parties, not throw on your favorite team's jersey every Sunday to watch the games? Give me a break. What's everybody complaining about? All right? Nothing's going to change other than how much more people are going to love this game over the next decade. If you disagree with me, give me a call. 1-877-337-6666.
All right, now give a little comparison to what's going on in the NBA and what you think will happen and how many people care or don't.
I think the NBA hasn't been as popular since Jordan. I think there will be maybe a 50-game season, which as a Knicks fan, I gotta be honest with you, I think that really helps the Knicks. I mean, if you watched Amari last year, he was fading down the stretch. I think if there's a season, hopefully, that could benefit the Knicks greatly. But I trying to be optimistic.
All right, let's turn to baseball and the Mets. You're the general manager of the Mets. As you assess what's gone on in your first year, what are you happy about? What are you disappointed about? And what do you think about moving forward?
I'm happy that the team's playing hard. I think the biggest compliment the coach can get is that your guys are playing hard. I disagree with not trading Jose Reyes. I don't think that they're going to be able to keep him at all. But I understand the other side where the fans would have been extremely disappointed if they had traded him. But I think the future could be bright for the Mets. I think they got the right guy in Sandy Alderson, the right coach in Collins. I think they're in good shape in the future.
Also, give me a little take on what you think will happen with the Islanders.
I mean, it would really be a shame if they left Long Island. Not being too big of a hockey fan, but just trying to keep up a little bit. I mean, I just think if they lose the Islanders, I mean, it's going to be, it would be a real big black eye for the league.
All right, Nick, thank you very much.
Thank you.